In early 2000s, the focus on visuals used to be a major selling point for new consoles and game releases, and it is still one of the main marketing techniques in gaming industry to talk about the graphics improvement. It is used for promoting new hardware for PCs, consoles, games, and etc. But is it really that big of a deal for an average gamer nowadays? I remember how shocking and exciting it was to get your hands on a new game with the next level graphics, like first Assassin's Creed or Mafia 2. It felt like you traveled to a completely different world when you started to play it. Back then, visuals were genuinely impressive. Then The Witcher 3 came out, and after that, the graphics escalation kinda slowed down. Sure, there were still improvements, but they didn't mean as much as they meant few decades earlier. You would experience some excitement with Cyberpunk graphics, for example, or Atomic Heart, but it still hadn't had the same effect as drastic changes in early 2000s. So with time, the argument about new-gen graphics pretty much lost its weight. It became a norm, a standard, that every new game is just supposed to look decent, and the level of that decency doesn't really impose as a huge factor that affects your decision on whether the game is good or bad. Basically, nobody really cares about tiny little changes in graphics that are barely noticeable anymore. The focus shifted towards how good and engaging the game actually is. The thing is, people want to play games. If they cared only about how good it looks, they would watch movies or something. It is only an addition, not the main factor. The most selling game as of 2025 is Minecraft. So could this be an answer to the question how much everybody really cares about graphics? But for some reason, companies that develop and release AAA games still think it's one of the main reasons why their games would have a lot of units sold. They keep concentrating on tiny little barely noticeable details in graphics, keep extending their release deadlines, when most of the gamers who can't or don't care about keeping up with the new hardware upgrades will still set the graphics to mid or low quality just to have lower FPS count and have a smoother experience with the game. All those tiny little detail changes don't matter at all. But developers and hardware manufacturers keep hyping up new graphical advancements as a key selling point, while their games feel completely soulless. To experience that change in graphics in early 2000s, when you played Diablo 2 for some time and then jumped into Assassin's Creed, nowadays I don't know what needs to happen. Probably games have to have actually real graphics, like undistinguishable from real life graphics, which I don't know how far from now we are. But until then, I think game developers should concentrate on gaming experience more, instead of trying to hide their copy-paste stories with the same mechanics and zero soul behind improving the earring swing pattern on a character that will be wearing a helmet which looks like a crockpot, and I would absolutely not care as long as the game is gameable. All I want is the game that feels fresh and engaging. Focus on its gameplay loop, its world building, its characters, and how those elements come together to create something memorable. Why I say you would be lucky to experience game development a few decades ago is because if you play Mafia 2, your character has swag. He has aura. You play Altair and he is a gangster. You feel differently when you play him. Isn't this what games are supposed to make you feel like? Try to make games that stay with the gamer who tries it forever. Dark Souls 1, which I only recently played and enjoyed much more than. I'm struggling to bring an example even because I can't force myself to try like 99% of them. All I see doesn't grab my attention enough. Like, why do people still play games that came out in 2011, like Skyrim? And notice how I say still playing, not played and forgot about them. The game still has quite big audience. I haven't tried it myself yet, but from what I see and hear about the game, its graphics is still decent enough to enjoy it even in 2025. Of course, there are mods and all that stuff to improve the graphics, but if you think about it, why would people bother and try to improve the game from 14 years ago if they would have something as amazing right now? The graphics is much better nowadays, right? So how come there is no game that has the same value for Skyrim players to stop playing it and turn to a newly created one? Because game developers concentrate on stuff that nobody cares about, no matter how much they try to force its popularity from marketing standpoint.
Insanity is doing the exact same fucking thing over and over again, expecting shit to change. That is crazy.
At the end of the day, the gaming industry has evolved, but one thing is clear. Graphics are no longer the driving force behind what makes a game truly great. While visual advancements can enhance the experience, they are not the core reason why people still play games. It's the immersive worlds, engaging gameplay, and memorable stories that keep players coming back. If developers continue to focus on superficial graphical improvements without addressing the heart of what makes games fun and meaningful, they risk losing sight of what gaming is all about. Graphics will always improve, but unless they are backed by innovation and a deeper focus on player experience, they'll just become another checkbox in the marketing campaign, easily forgotten once the novelty wears off. The true challenge for the gaming industry moving forward isn't pushing the boundaries of what's possible visually, but rather creating games that are unforgettable, not because of how they look, but because of how they make us feel. So maybe it's time to put the earring swing patterns aside and focus on makes a game truly gameable. After all, that's what will leave a lasting impression on players for years to come. The whole journey was wonderful, bro. So many things, and like, it's just the first Dark Souls, and if you think about it, that was good. I really enjoyed it, truly. Nowadays, gaming is kind of experiencing drastic shifts, and I see a lot of people arguing on the internet about how 2025 might be the last year we see the gaming as it is, and there are a lot of factors that would make you think that. Luckily, again, there are gems that we can find in this pile of what's going on in the gaming industry among AAA games developers mostly. It just feels like it became a money-grabbing mechanism instead of someone's passion and goal and purpose, maybe even to develop something that will last forever like it used to be. You go to internet, you see all these videos, all this news about people discussing that they don't want to see this stuff in games, but game developers still like continue doing that. And that feeling of having something precious every time you buy a new game and you install it on your PC and you try it, is just lost somewhere. And in my opinion, unless game developing companies will reconsider their approach towards making games, the gaming as a hobby in general could just drown for people. But of course, there are still old games that you can go in and enjoy, and if you don't really care about graphics and all that stuff, you would still have experienced some good emotions like I did, as I already said, with Dark Souls 1. It was incredible, man. The second you get used to what you see, like the picture, perfect, amazing. That's why I'm planning on trying to Skyrim as well. I don't know when and how I'm gonna get to it and when I will find time for this, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna be a good journey. Anyways, this is all I really wanted to rant about today. This is the topic I wanted to discuss. Let me know in the comments what you think. What do you think about graphics, and are you really that interested in every single detailed development that you would be willing to sacrifice your gaming experience towards that, which I highly doubt any gamer would do, but still, let me know in the comments. But I guess for me, that's about it for today. See ya.